We have another article here from a mainstream publication I want to read for you guys. This one's from the New York Times, and it's another opinion piece I want to share with you guys because I found it very interesting and maddening at the same time. So this is a piece from somebody named Roger Cohen. Apparently he's a New York Times columnist or opinion writer or whatever. And he was basically making his point for why Kamala Harris is the candidate that should face Trump, so should be the nominee, and why she thinks that he thinks that Kamala Harris can beat Trump. So the title of the piece is from the New York Times once again. Excuse me. The title of the piece is "The Who Can Beat Trump Test Leads to Kamala Harris." And then the subheadline says, "Bringing the energy and hope to stare down Trump and his movement." And this was from August 2nd, so it was a while ago. But I was actually going to cover it on the last episode, but I couldn't get around to it. But I thought it was still relevant to today. So let's check this out here. It says, "Nations, like people, may change somewhat, but not in their essential characteristics. The United States is defined by space and hope. It is an optimistic country of can-do strivers. They took the risk of coming to a new land. They are suspicious of government, inclined to self-reliance. Europeans ask where you came from. Americans ask what you can do. The Declaration of Independence posited a universal idea, that human beings are created equal, that they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are, quote, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Americans then embraced an idea, however flawed in execution, when they became a nation. Their government, whatever else it does, exists to safeguard and further that idea in the United States and beyond. President Trump, in the name of making America, making America great again, has trampled on America's essence. He is angry, a stranger to happiness, angrier still for not knowing the source of his rage. He is less interested in liberty than the cash of his autocratic cronies. As for life, he views it as a selective right, to which the white Christian male has priority access with women, people of color, and the rest of humanity trailing along behind for scraps. Adherence to an agenda of, quote, national conservatism held a conference last week in Washington dedicated, as my colleague Jennifer Schussler put it, quoting her, it says, to wresting a coherent ideology out of the chaos of the Trumpist movement. Good luck with that. One of the meeting's leading lights was Rich Lowry, the editor of National Review. Lowry's forthcoming book is called, quote, The Case for Nationalism. That's a questionable title, to say the least. Enough said. The endpoint of that case is on display at military cemeteries across Europe. Nationalism, self-pitying and aggressive, seeks to change the present in the name of an illusory past in order to create a future vague in all respects except its glory. Trump is a self-styled nationalist. The USA, USA, USA chants at his rallies have chilling echoes. Lowry holds that America is not an idea, and to call it so is a lazy cliche. This argument denies the essence of the country, an essence palpable at every naturalization ceremony across the United States. Becoming American is a process that involves the inner absorption of the nation's founding idea. The gravest thing Trump has done is to empty this idea of meaning. His has been an assault on honesty, decency, dignity, tolerance, and civility. On this president's wish list, every right is alienable, not inalienable. He leads a movement more than he does a nation, and so depends on fear to mobilize people. Any victorious Democratic Party candidate in 2020 has to counter the negative energy with the positive energy that lifts Americans from Trump's web. I watched the Democratic Party debates among presidential contenders through a single prism. Who can beat Trump? In the end, nothing else matters, because another 5.5 years of this will drag Americans into an abyss of moral collapse. It says, yes, how far left, how moderate that candidate may be is of some significance, but can he or she bring the heat and the hope to stare Trump down and topple him is all I care about. So it does anything, apparently nothing has to do with policy so far. I haven't seen a single policy here. It says that's the bouncing ball all eyes should be on, with no illusions as to how vicious and devious Trump will be between now and November 2020. It says, with reluctance, because he is good and honorable man of great personal courage, I do not believe that Joe Biden has the needed energy, mental agility, and nimbleness, nor do I believe that the nation of can-do strivers I described above is ready for Bernie Sanders' democratic socialism. Okay, so we know where this guy is going. Forms of socialism work in Europe, and the word is widely misunderstood, God forbid, in America. But socialism and America's essence are incompatible. Elizabeth Warren's couching of a campaign for radical change as, quote, economic patriotism is a much smarter way to go, big surprise, and her energetic advocacy of ideas to redress the growing injustices in American life has been powerful. Still, I am not convinced that enough Americans are ready to move as far left as she proposes, or that she passes the critical commander-in-chief test. Kamala Harris does that for me. So this is where we're going to get into the standing and the fawning over Kamala Harris. The California senator is a work in progress with uneven debate performances and policy, notably healthcare that she has zigzagged toward defining. But she's tough, broadly of the center, has a great American story, is passionate on issues including immigrants, African Americans, and women, and has proved she is not averse to risk. She has a former prosecutor's toughness and the ability to slice through Trump's self-important bluster. Last month, Harris said Trump was a predator. She continued, quoting her, "The thing about predators you should know is that they prey on the vulnerable. They prey on those who they do not believe are strong. And the thing you must importantly know, predators are cowards." Those were important words. It's early days, but Trump's biggest electoral vulnerability is to women. They have seen through his misogyny at last, and they know just where the testosterone of nationalism leads. So another lazy, substanceless article from the mainstream media. I haven't read too many articles where opinion columnists endorse and do these kind of things for specific politicians, but clearly this person has endorsed, and obviously he doesn't represent the New York Times, but he has clearly endorsed Kamala Harris. I'm pretty sure the New York Times has no problem with Kamala Harris because they are part of the establishment, but this guy, it took him how many let's read how many, not sentences, but how many paragraphs it took him to finally get to addressing some sort of substance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Was it 13? 13 out of 14. I'm sorry, 13 out of 15 paragraphs it took for this guy to finally get into some sort of substance, because that's where he, addressed the policies that she supports as far as immigrants and African Americans, but then the guy didn't even really say anything about it. He said he didn't really do her much. Didn't do him much of a favor here, saying that her healthcare policies, she's zigzagged towards defining them. But then he also says that. What did he say here? He said that she's a work in progress with uneven debate performances, and that's when he mentions, her healthcare kind of views and stuff, not being kind of zigzagging through and everything toward defining them. But then he pretends that she's so wonderful because she's passionate about issues including immigrants. I don't even understand that. African Americans, so you're talking about all the African Americans that she's put into jail for stupid ass reasons, like doing drugs. Yeah, she's really been wonderful on that. On women, yeah, I guess she's pro women, but I mean, so is Bernie Sanders. What difference does it make? So is Elizabeth Warren. So is to some extent Joe Biden too. So, and then, and he dresses her, Trump was a predator, or Trump is a predator, part of her speech, that was her closing statement that she made in the last debate, I think. It was ridiculous. It's so stupid. Like but do you see what she's running on? At least in that respect, I guess what she's trying to say, that she's not running on, but in that respect, what she's saying though is she's saying, "Oh my God, Donald Trump is so scary. He's a serial, adulterer and a serial, because he's also been accused of rape and stuff. He's a serial rapist, and he's this, and, he's such a horrible person." I mean, I don't disagree with those things, but it's like that has nothing to do with policy. It's just about somebody, you're just trying to fearmonger about a guy that's president. It's really, really scary. Now, you can make the case that people say that about Bill Clinton too, and because he's obviously involved in a lot of sexual assault scandals, whether it was, not even so much sexual assault, just adultery altogether, where he obviously had sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, and then he was accused of sexual assault by multiple other people. Trump has been accused of sexual assault by many women. It was like 17 women or something, and especially getting accused of sexual assault by Stormy Daniels, the former porn star. So yeah, we know he's a predator. We know he's a sexual assaulter. We know he's an adulterer. We know he's a sleazeball. We know he's a scumbag. That has nothing to do with policy. And obviously this guy he pretty much admits that Kamala Harris's policies are not that great, and says she's a work in progress. So obviously you don't give a shit about policy. You just want somebody that is a tough prosecutor. A really tough prosecutor that's going to look Trump in the eye and act really, really tough and tell him he's a terrible person. Okay, thanks a lot. That doesn't do anything. That has nothing to do with policy. Does nothing for policy. It does nothing for dealing with real situations in this world. Of course, we have a lot of sexual predators and assaulters and rapists and all that stuff in this world, and those people obviously should be condemned and hated, but that has nothing to do with Trump. I mean, that's a completely separate, so when you're addressing Trump as a predator, all you're doing is just scaring people about how terrible Trump is without actually getting into the details. So you can talk about so many issues about how Trump is terrible. The tax cuts, the tax cuts to his, to the super rich that he gave, the wanting to renegotiate NAFTA 2.0, wanting to, basically do another version of the TPP. Essentially, he's putting TPP ideas into into NAFTA. He's, he's having a trade war with China right now. He's, his healthcare policy sucks. His, he doesn't give a shit about, obviously, raising wages for people that are, raising wages for workers. He continues the drug war. He's continuing the fucking endless wars, the 7 or 8 endless wars we're in right now. Do you mention any of that? No, because Kamala Harris doesn't care about those things. And like I said, obviously this guy doesn't give a shit about Kamala Harris not caring about her own policies, because she's not putting them forward, and if she does, they suck. But he just cares about her being really tough and being able to look Trump in the eye and addressing his slicing through his self-important bluster. Like, dude, it's amazing how terrible mainstream media has gotten with their with their endorsements and their ideas and their mentality. It gets worse and worse every day. Every year, every day, every election, every midterm, every presidential election, it just gets worse and worse and worse. These people have their heads up their asses, and they just don't give a fuck about pushing ideas and pushing politicians. Like I said, these opinion guys, the opinion writers and stuff, a lot of times don't come out and just endorse somebody. But this is, and that's fine. It's an opinion piece. It's not representing New York Times. But they come out with these opinion pieces, and the rare times, I guess, that you specifically see, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but this is not, I haven't seen too many opiniin writers come out and just say, oh, this person is wonderful, unless it's down to 2. So if it's down to 2 politicians in a race and, Democrat against Republican, I that's a different story. But when it comes to still being in the primary. I don't think I've ever seen an opinion writer like this, especially a guy that has been writing for the New York Times since 2009 apparently. His name is Roger Cohen. He sounds very familiar. Looks very familiar too. But anyway, you don't see a lot of these people doing these things. But again, they do. If they do it, they don't do it this early. And it's very surprising to see this guy see somebody doing this so early, but then when he writes the article, he's so like, his argument is so incoherent and bad. It's like it doesn't make any sense. Like, who's convinced by this? Obviously, a lot of Kamala stans and people that love Kamala Harris love it, but it just doesn't make any decent arguments. Especially when if anything, you're not making Kamala Harris look any better when you're saying that, she had uneven debate performances and, she's a work in progress, and regarding her policies, notably healthcare, and she's zigzagged toward defining them, and then but she's great because she's a tough prosecutor. And then, obviously Trump is hated by women out there, women voters, hated by African Americans and immigrants. Oh, she's wonderful on those issues. Dude, Kamala Harris has embraced ICE, has embraced what ICE has done. So the immigration, customs, and border agents, and all those people that are rounding up all these kids and immigrants, and throwing them into these fucking ridiculous detention centers and shit, treating them like fucking animals, basically. She's embraced the work of those, ICE and the border agents and everything. In fact, there's a famous picture of her, well, not famous, but I mean, I don't know. It's something that's gone around through, the progressive Twitter and social media a lot, of her taking a picture wearing an ICE jacket or a border agent or ICE jacket, where she's, standing there with a bunch of border agents and I think it's the border agents. She's standing there with border agents and smiling, taking a picture all in front of the wall too, if I remember correctly. I went against the border wall there, between Mexico and Texas, and she's standing there taking a picture, happy go lucky, happy as can be, just as if it's no problem. But now she's we have to be convinced that she's wonderful on the issue of immigration. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.